So my most memorable moment designing the Search for Planet X actually happened in a planetarium. I'll explain. So the original idea for the game had players just trying to find one object in the sky, Planet X, among a sea of empty space. But we just couldn't get the deduction to be interesting enough that way. About that time, my local planetarium in Chicago was showing a documentary about the search for Planet X, the real search for Planet X. And I went to see it. And in that documentary, they talked about one of the clues that led them to believe that Planet X is out there is that they found a number of dwarf planets kind of clumping together on one side of the solar system. And the only thing that made sense to them to explain this would be a massive, as yet undiscovered planet in a different part of the solar system that was balancing out the gravity between itself and these dwarf planets. And a light just kind of went on for me. And I realized that in order to make the deduction work for the game, we needed to be looking for more than just Planet X itself. We needed to be looking for other celestial objects, dwarf planets, asteroids, comets, that would each have their own logic rules. And that those logic rules needed to work together and interact with each other in interesting ways. And once we hit on that and implemented that in the game, the design really fell into place. And you can actually see some of that documentary in the game today, because the rule for dwarf planets in the game, the Search for Planet X, is that there are 4 of them, and they're all within a band of 6 sectors on one side of the solar system. And the rule for Planet X is that it cannot be adjacent to a dwarf planet. So I kind of took that real life science from the documentary and put it right into the logic of the game, The Search for Planet X. So that's my most memorable moment.
I think it is when we finally figured out the right questions to ask. We started out with experimenting with a ton of different questions that you could ask on your turn to try to narrow down the field of where everything was. The first questions were things like, is something in this area? Is a comet between sectors 2 and 7? And the answers were just yes and no. We tried a whole bunch of different variations, and then finally figuring out that we needed to get back just a number in response to help us narrow things down. And then realizing what information we needed to be saying out loud, that we needed to be saying the area in which we were searching and the object that we were looking for, and that was going to give just enough information to the other players about what was going on, but then that the other players could not hear the response. Like, we were wondering, is one of the pieces of information in the question what you reveal and then the response, or it all depended on what the questions were and what the responses were, and then finally figuring out what gave a little bit of information to the other players and enough information to the player who was asking the question that the deductive process became really interesting. That was my favorite part in developing Planet X, which we then carried through into the Search for Lost Species.
Renegades! We are so excited to have you here for our next live stream where we are going to be chatting about a whole group of really fun things, including Renegade Originals and some of our Hasbro strategy games and some of our other partner games. We just have so many fun things that we are going to be deep diving into that we talked about in the Just Wait Reveals panel. And now we get to talk about them in this live stream as well. So I am Sarah Erickson, VP of Sales and Marketing, and I am joined by our senior producer, Dan Bojanowski. Hi, Dan.
Hi, Sarah.
So Dan, tell us what you do here at Renegade.
Sure. Well, I don't design games. I don't develop games. I don't do art. I don't do any of that stuff. But what I do is I facilitate all of those things happening. I take it from the game we sign, make sure it gets developed, make sure we have art for it, make sure we have like the creative works that I do the creative requests, I do P&Ls, a bunch of little things until it goes to the factory, and then I'm done with it. So
I think you have
pitch to factory.
You have one of those jobs that I think a lot of people don't even know exists, but it is so incredibly important. And I think you get to make a lot of really cool decisions about what ends up in the final games. And that's so important in especially our Renegade Originals, where we start from the very beginning, from scratch, with just this little nugget of an idea that comes from an amazing designer. And you get to take that all the way through that journey to become a real game.
Yeah, I love it. It's very satisfying to see it from start to finish, and just enjoy when fans get to play the game and how they react to it, and they see the little that little decision I made on a component that just makes me smile. And yes, those little things that make me happy.
I love it. That's awesome. So today we are talking about, to begin with, a whole bunch of games that are actually already available. They're on our website. If you order them today, you'll get double reward points, and they will ship out right away. You don't even have to wait. And so we're just going to be starting out chatting about Splendent Vale. So what can you tell us about Artisans of Splendent Vale?
Sure. So Artisans of Splendent Vale is a giant campaign adventure by Nikki Valens. And Nikki has designed some wonderful games, and this is no exception. They put their heart and soul into this game, and it shows. It was a long journey to get through this, but we're really happy with the production. So what is it? It's a campaign game. It's a cooperative campaign game where you're adventuring through this fantasy world called Splendid Vale, where these giant meteors crash into the ground every so often, and they are made up of this crystal named materia. And when it hits the ground, it makes a big crater and then explodes. And these materia have magical properties that allow all the fruits and vegetables and the vegetation, plants and animals to grow giant, to grow bigger, grow faster. And then there's these artisans that you can be during the campaign that will take these materia and use it in their crafting materials. So they'll use it as a tailor or as a tinkerer, artificer to imbue their items with magic. So how does it work? Well, every player has a giant book, and these books are Sarah, you probably have an example there. They are giant.
They're huge.
Each player gets one of those that represents their character, and it's like choose your own adventure style narrative. And as you go through, you'll read some of your stuff, and there will be some little ... dots, and the next character will have to read it. And it's as you go through, you'll be looking at illustrations and finding numbers to jump to the next one. You'll be doing action scenes where you'll fight a monster, or sometimes it'll be a chase scene. But this is a dungeon crawl unlike any other dungeon crawls. It's not your typical adventure. It's very inclusive. It's co-op. It's everything you're looking for in a very long adventure. And Sarah, I know that you've been playing this one.
I've played so many hours of this game, and I am so just anxious to get to the next day when I get to play this. This is what I do on the weekends now. Basically the whole weekend I just play this game. I'm loving playing it with my group because we each have our own really unique characters that really just feel like us. I was really surprised because a lot of the time we play these big fancy campaign games and these characters are so fantasy that I can't relate to them in some respects. But these characters, like my husband is playing the character that on his days off, when you have a rest day, he's out running or exercising. And that's actually what my husband does on his days off. And so it was just a perfect fit. And I'm playing with my friend and his 12-year-old daughter, and she just loves animals. Just everything about her, she just wants to do things with animals. And so she's playing the character that actually has a dog as a familiar. And so she gets to live out her dream of being an adult and also having this animal that she gets to take care of that goes on adventures with her. So it's just absolutely perfect. The character I'm playing is the protector of the whole team, and that's really just who I am. I love like helping people. I love making sure everybody is safe and jumping in the way if anything bad is about to happen. And that's what my character does. It's just so interesting to see how unique and different each one of these characters are, and then also how unique the game is. I love that you read a little section out loud and then another character will read their section out loud, and it all just comes together as this beautiful story, and you're almost role playing but without all the pressure of trying to think of these things yourself, but you still gotta make decisions. Okay, I could go on for another hour about how much I love this game. Every single thing about it's great.
One of the things that I've seen reviewers talk about that I think is really unique about this game is that like it is a lot of reading, but that's a benefit. Like you can sit on the couch with your books and whoever's playing and just read for a while. And then when it's time to do an action scene, you get up and go to the table, do an action scene, and then go back and chill on the couch reading your book.
It's
a very different feel than most board games.
I actually played Legacy of Dragonholt during COVID, and I played it with my same friend who's playing this with me now, and we played it over Zoom while all of us were at home. He was at his house, we were at our house just sitting on the couch and playing, and it was very much like that. But now you have the added benefit of the action scenes, which are really exciting. I love the way combat works. Again, I've never played a game that has combat work quite this way. It's very cooperative. You have a shared dice pool, and then you get to do your own actions, but you have to think about what other people are going to want to do with those dice. It's really, really neat. I love the way that the action scenes work, and it breaks up those big chunks of reading, which it is really fun to just have this storytelling part of it that happens, but it's nice to break it up with something where you're rolling dice and beating on bad guys too.
Right. And so one of the other things about this is that there is a recharge pack. I believe it's been shown on the screen here. This is something that allows you to go through the whole campaign and then play it again, either with a different group or if you want to experience it with a different character. This allows that. And with that, there's just a new set of character sheets and stickers and all the elements that you need to modify. It's got everything you need in there.
I love the stickers. So when you get an upgraded weapon or when you craft a new piece of equipment, you actually attach that thing that you're wearing to your character using a sticker, so that then on your character sheet, your character now is wearing that piece of equipment, which I love the way that works. It looks really fun, and the stickers work really well. They're just on these cards, and as one of the characters that gets to craft items, I get to go and pull those stickers out and then attach them to stuff. It's great. And
that was very challenging from a illustration perspective, because there's 4 unique characters and most of these items could be received by any of them. So if there's this particular cloak, for instance, we had to commission not 1 cloak, but 4 cloaks, 1 for each person, and how it would look specifically on them.
Yeah. So you can see, and the characters aren't even all the same sizes. So you have these different size things that you would then peel off and replace on your character sheet. Yeah, it's really neatly done that way. I really appreciated that. Keeps it unique. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff about this game. If you haven't watched any reviews about it, I can't say enough good stuff, but don't believe me, go and watch one of our fantastic reviews that we have posted on our website about it. I just don't see how anybody could play this game and not fall in love. It's fantastic.
Awesome.
Very cool. All right. So moving on from Artisans of Splendent Vale, we have a few other games that have already come out and are ready to ship right now. The next one is Warp's Edge Anomaly. So this is an expansion to our solo-only game, Warp's Edge. What can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, so Warp's Edge has been received very well. There's already been an expansion for it, the Viren Invasion expansion. This is a second expansion, and it brings you more of everything that you love about Warp's Edge. So it has 2 new motherships, the Hourglass and the Decay. It has 2 new starships, two new starfighters that you can play as, which each have their own unique loadouts and power tokens. It has new skills, new enemy cards, and some new elements. So the things that are new about it are anomaly tokens, kind of the namesake of the expansion, but the anomaly tokens add a little bit of a push your luck element to them. And at any time during your turn, you can reach into this new bag, and pull out an anomaly token, which will have 2 sides to it. One which has a benefit, one which has a kind of a negative effect. When you pull it out of the bag, you get the good effect. So you get to do something cool. But then it goes into your bag, and every time you pull it out afterwards, it does the bad effect. So it's a little bit of I really need a little bit of extra right now, but is it time for me to fill my bag with this stuff that's not going to be good later? So that's a really fun element that's new. And also, there's challenge cards. Now, each mothership in the game, not just from this expansion, but from the core box, from the Viren Invasion expansion, and from this, will have 3 challenge cards. These challenge cards will add challenge to those motherships. So when you're playing against the Dread, the initial bad guy that you usually fight, you can add 1, 2, or 3 of these challenge cards to make it more challenge, adding significant amount of replayability if you thought the game was too easy. Many people say it's a very difficult game at first, but if you've mastered it, this is a way to add replayability to all of the motherships that exist in the game. So very cool. One other thing
I really like that this.
Go ahead.
Oh, I really like that this game does have different challenge levels, because I feel like I maybe don't have a lot of tolerance for frustration for being bad at a game to start with. And so the first couple levels are easy enough that I can have some success. I see how the game works. I can enjoy it, but then it gets harder. So there's still a challenge waiting for me. I think this game found the sweet spot there really well.
So 2 more things I want to mention on this. Number 1 is that this expansion comes with a consolidated player aid, which I think is a godsend for fans of the game who have everything. So this player aid is about yay big, and it has on one side every power token and what it does, and on the other side it's got all the reward tokens, all the anomaly tokens, all the icons that you would need. So instead of looking at the core rulebook, the Viren Invasion rulebook, and the Anomaly rulebook, you've got everything you need on one handy player aid that consolidates it all right there for you.
Oh, that's so nice. And
so there's that. And the second thing I want to point out is that there's, if you got the upgraded acrylic tokens from the first 2 expansions, we have a second upgrade token pack that has upgraded tokens for all the anomaly tokens, the new power tokens, everything that's new, so you can have everything upgraded in the acrylic clickety-clackety tokens.
They're really nice. I'm such a snob about this. I don't think I could play this game without the upgraded tokens because they feel so good. I really like reaching my hand into the bag and pulling out those nice plastic but hard, good quality pieces, and those tokens. It's great. Yeah, that's fantastic. Very cool. And I also love how organized it is, like the little trays to put all your tokens in. This is one of those games that is so quick to set up that if you're going to play a video game, you might as well just set this up and play it instead, because you're going to have a great experience. And it's not going to take a ton of time to get it on the table. And as a solo game, I think that's really important.
Right.
Very cool. Well, always good to have some extra upgrades and extra things for one of my favorite games. And another game that I have loved since the beginning of Renegade, this game's been around for a really long time, is Fuse. And we just got a new standalone game for that. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, Fuse Countdown. So this is designed by Kane Klenko, the same one who did the original, and it is both an expansion and a standalone game. So if you have the original, great, you can add this to it. There's new content. If you don't have the original, great, you can still use this and play it as a standalone game. So Fuse is a 10-minute real-time dice game that you're trying to cooperatively work together to defuse bombs. It's very stressful, but very rewarding if you can get it done. You're stacking dice, you're rolling them, you're trying to solve these little puzzles as you go. It's really great as a formula. But what Fuse Countdown adds to it are some new twists. So first of all, there's split dice. So these dice are two colors. So they'll have one main color and a secondary color. So when you choose that die, you can choose either of the colors represented on it to place on the card that you're using. So that adds some versatility, and some cards require a split die to make it a little bit more challenging as well. It also has spark cards. These are little smaller cards. They're like mini bombs. And it's a little rule change that instead of in the original Fuse, when you couldn't take a die, you had to roll the die and lose a die from there. In this game, in Fuse Countdown, when you can't take a die, you have to take a spark card, which creates another little challenge for you to do, and you can't win the game while any spark cards are in play. So they're easy to pull off, essentially, but you still have to do them. It also adds player powers, and who doesn't like player powers? So these are things like extra re-rolls when you're the one rolling the bag, pulling from the bag. Everyone will have their own player power. Just really cool stuff. So this is a really great expansion. You can, like I said, you can combine it with the original as like different modules. Like some of the things you can add in, you can leave some out. You can play up to 8 players with this mode if you have both SKUs. So
that's a lot of people for this game.
That would be very intense. I've honestly never tried that myself. I think it would be super fun, but very stressful.
All right, we're going to have to do that at Gen Con. Yeah, I think totally. You and I need to find another 6 people and do this all together. That'll be great.
We can do
it. I love it. Awesome. Anything else about Fuse Countdown? That's a lot of good new stuff in there.
Yeah, it's available now. Go get it.
Nice. All right, next one, Wreckland Run. Another solo hero series game. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so this is the next in the line. This is just released. This is by the same designer and developer of Warp's Edge. So if you loved Warp's Edge, chances are you're going to love this one. So Scott Alms did the design work, and T.C. Petty III did the development work. This shares, and in my opinion, one of the reasons why I signed this game, I love this game, was because it shared a lot of DNA with Warp's Edge. I mean, it's totally different mechanics in that this is dice manipulation and a dice puzzle. It's not real time like Fuse, but it's a dice puzzle for you to figure out. And Warp's Edge is a bag builder, but this one has the similar feel of I've got different cars that I can choose. I'm going against different bosses. They're all unique, and there's a puzzle every time to do it. As far as the game itself, it is a campaign style game with a 7-chapter campaign, a storyline that you're going through. And, it's kind of a Mad Max, like you're out trying to steal water, trying to assemble some certain things. And you've got a vehicle that's kind of pieced together, scrapped together. And throughout the course of, wreckage phases and run phases, you're going to be equipping your vehicle with weapons and battering rams and harpoons and various things. And then fighting against the cars that are swarming around your vehicle. And eventually you face a boss, and you win or lose. There's a campaign, so new things will be revealed. You'll go through a canyon. You'll have toxic waste poured on you. A whole bunch of things that I won't spoil for you. But it's good fun, and it's out now.
That sounds fantastic. I love the idea of the sort of post-apocalyptic wasteland setting, and then running around with your vehicle. All of that, super fun. I think this is great. Very cool.
I will note that the campaign is fully resettable, so you can go through it, and you can just pick a boss and play that boss, or you can go back through it with a different car, a different driver. So there's lots of replayability in there. And if that wasn't enough, there's also an expansion that launched at the same time called Fallout, which introduces a new 3-chapter campaign, 2 new cars, 2 new drivers, a bunch of new content there. There's a playmat that you can get. There's sleeves. You can really bling this one out, kind of like we did with Warp's Edge as well, if you want to.
That's awesome. Very fun. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. And I can't wait to see what the next thing in the Solo Hero series is. I think we'll have some more about that, possibly at our next Renegade Con in March, or maybe a little bit after that. But we'll have some new stuff. So if you like these ones, definitely keep an eye on us. We've got some more things in the works.
We do.
Should be fun. Awesome. Well, we are almost halfway into this stream, and I think we need to do a giveaway. What do you think about that, Dan?
Awesome.
Nice.
I think the fans will like it.
All right. We are giving away a free early copy of a game, and I don't know what game it is, but we're giving away something that's going to be early. So all you have to do is jump into the chat and tell us what Renegade Original game that we just chatted about is the most exciting for you. So just as a recap, Artisans of Splendent, Vale, Fuse Countdown, Warp's Edge Anomaly, or Wreckland Run. Which of those is the thing you just are dying to play? Put that in chat, and one of our fantastic mods is going to pick a random winner from whoever is posting, and we're going to get you a copy of that game. So go ahead and check that out. So Dan, which one of these did you work on first while people are picking in there?
Well, Artisans of Splendent Vale was a really long development time. So that would probably be it. That would be my guess. It was a long process to get it from start to finish.
Yeah, that makes sense. Some other things we didn't talk about with Artisans of Splendent Vale. So we talked about the recharge pack, which is fantastic. We didn't talk about the plushies.
Oh, plushies.
So do you want to tell us anything about the process you went through to make these? That was kind of a different theme.
Yeah, it was
Renegade.
definitely interesting. It was my first time doing anything with plushies. And, we started with an illustration from the game, and Nikki had the idea of doing plushies, and we thought that was a great idea. There's some really cute animals in the game. So we did 3 of them that were based on the illustration. So we had to go to the illustrator and say, okay, that's a great illustration, but now we need like turnarounds, all different angles of it. And then we sent that to several different factories and got those spec'd out to try to see if they had the ability to make what we wanted. And then, once we narrowed it down to the right factory, then it was probably 6 or 7 rounds of, pictures and samples and, drawing on the picture saying, no, curve this in a little bit more like this, or, this rune needs to look like this, or these ears need to be pegged back like this. It was a long process, but it was, we're happy with how they turned out.
Yeah, they're very cute. Well, thank you for that explanation. It looks like we have a winner. So congratulations to Ed Home. If you want to send a note to our customer service at renegadegames.com email address, then we will get you hooked up with a copy of the game you mentioned, which was Warp's Edge Anomaly. Very good choice. That's awesome. Cool. So moving on to some games that haven't come out yet. Our reveals. This is super exciting. So we just talked about an hour and a half ago about a new upcoming game, Good Omens, an ineffable game, which is releasing later this year, and we'll get a clear release date here pretty soon. And we've got 3 different exclusive versions of this game. So we've got one for Amazon, since this is an Amazon Studios partnership game based on their fantastic series, Good Omens, which if you haven't watched yet, please go watch it. It is based on Neil Gaiman's book, and it is so much fun. It is just absolutely amazing series. I binge watched the entire thing all at once. I recommend doing that. There's also an exclusive version for Barnes & Noble and one for the friendly local hobby stores. So just really quick, Dan, could you run down what the differences are between those exclusives?
Yeah. So first,
what you get for each one?
So first of all, I will say that none of the exclusive content is gameplay related. So really, it comes down to, obviously, you can see the different box covers there. So the different box cover for each, and then within each different exclusive is a different item that is cosmetic only. So on the Amazon exclusive, they are the character cards. I believe there's 12 or 13 character cards. Those are foil boarded, and they come with the regular version and foil version, just cosmetic, which is really cool though. It's nice to have shiny versions of Crowley and Aziraphale.
Yeah, they look great.
The Barnes & Noble exclusive has kind of a heaven and hell themed dice bag. So it's a bag that's black with silver etching of the game's logo or the IP's logo. And then the hobby store exclusive also has a dice bag that is it's Agnes Nutter related, Agnes Nutter themed. So Agnes Nutter has this book of prophecies that is referenced throughout the series, and it's got green with this really cool like etching or stitching in there with the game's logo, but it looks kind of like the cover of Agnes Nutter's book. So again,
it's really pretty.
All of it is just cosmetic, but it's something added depending on which way you go.
Yep. And like you mentioned, the cover box art as well. Looks great. Yep. Very cool. All right. So just tell us about the game. Now that we've talked about the different versions, you can decide where you want to go find this once it is available for pre-order later. So what can players expect out of this game?
Sure. So if you're not familiar with Good Omens, it's a comedy about the birth of the son of Satan coming to in the coming end times. And there's Aziraphale and Crowley, who are an angel and a demon, who are attempting to sabotage the end of times. So that's kind of how season 1 plays out. And this game is kind of plays out some of those events. So inside this box is actually a series of 7 different games. They are they're card and dice games. They're all cooperative. You all work together to do them. They each take about 20 to 30 minutes to get through. And it's a little bit intimidating just to learn 7 different games as a pitch, but these are easy to learn games that have maybe a page or 2 in the rules and a player aid that walks you through the turn sequence. So what we like to say on this is that these are learn as you go, learn as you play. So you can kind of do a quick overview of the rules and then just start playing. And they're all like fun little games, co-op games that use characters and a deck of cards to kind of recreate the events of season 1 of Good Omens.
So you mentioned that these are recreating the season of season 1 in the show. So how did the show influence the creation of this game?
Yeah, so in the series there are, like, for instance, like I talked about, it's recreating the end time or the coming of the end times, and there's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. 4 of the games are the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. So the different horsemen each have a game and they each respond differently. There's also Vanquish, Fight. What is it? It's Fight Heaven and Vanquish Hell are two different battles as well. And then finally the last one is Armageddon Prevention. So you're kind of going through each of those thematically with these games to recreate the events of that. And then what we say in the rule book is that you can play these one at a time. Like if you want just a 20 to 30 minute, or you can play them in a series of multiple, call that like a pack. So you could do just the 4 horsemen. You could do those, or you could do 2 horsemen and then Vanquish Heaven or Fight Heaven. So we have several suggested like playthroughs. Or you can do the whole enchilada and do all 7 in one sitting, and which would be a pretty exciting.
And these are each different games, right?
Yes.
I mean, they're all kind of related in some ways, but they're all actual individual different games.
That is exactly correct. They're all individual games that have different win conditions, loss conditions. They use common set of components, but they're all used differently. There are characters. I referenced those when I was talking about the Amazon exclusive. There are a set of character cards with a lot of the characters you know and love from the series, Aziraphale and Crowley, and Shadwell and Pulsifer and Anathema Device. And those are like characters that you put out on the table that you can use special powers that can help you manipulate the dice or draw extra cards or do other things. And those are kind of the difficulty scaling within the game. So the more of those that you add to the game, the easier the game will be. But the less of those that you add, the harder, the more of a challenge you'll have.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, I can't wait to play that one. That sounds like a lot of fun. Excellent. Yeah. So anything else you want to say about that? Moving on to the next one?
I don't think so. But Sarah, I've heard that we're doing a partnership with our friends at Hunters Entertainment for a really unique RPG called Ragnarock Gods of Metal, or Gods of Metal Ragnarock. This is really cool sounding. I'm really excited to hear more about this. This releases in May, and it's available for pre-order right now. But what kind of RPG is this? What can you tell us about Gods of Metal Ragnarok?
So, as you may have guessed, this is a heavy metal RPG. So, if you dreamed of playing in a band and rocking out to the glory of the rock gods, this is the game for you. It's really unique in so many ways. There's nothing like this. You actually start out creating a band, so you're not a group or a troupe of characters. You're a band that all works together. There's a lot of really neat cooperative elements in this game. Shared pools, shared ways that you can battle the gods that you are trying to defeat, the bad guys in this world. And this is also a unique system in that it's D4 based. So you have a certain number of skill points. So let's say you have 5 in slinking around. That would be a skill you could have. So that means that you get to roll 5 D4s. So it's a little bit different. This isn't your typical D20 system, but it's really just an over-the-top, heavy metal, ridiculous, lots of fun, just rock out with your friends. So it's all about pledging your allegiance to a patron god of metal and then defeating the bad guys. You get to do things like creating your own outfit. So instead of your typical like belt and boots and hat, you're actually creating your like rock band outfit that you want to wear around. You pick a position. So instead of being a certain player class, you pick a position that you want to be within the band. So you might be a brutalizer or a blood guard or a howler or a shredder or a chordmaster or an amp lord. And depending on what you want to be doing, within the game, you pick one of those. So it's just ridiculous. Like if you really are looking for an over-the-top game and you love heavy metal, you can't go wrong with this one. So like you mentioned, this is coming out this summer, and there's a few different options. You can get either the regular book like we're picturing right there. There's also a deluxe version of this, and there's even a GM screen that includes a record, very limited quantities. If you want the whole soundtrack, there you go. So nice. Crazy stuff. The deluxe version is a faux leather with the cool embossing on it that you can see there on the screen. Just a really crazy, extra special. You're not going to find anything like this anywhere else kind of a game. So check this one out. This is up for pre-order now. That's awesome. That sounds great. Sounds like a whole lot of fun. It's going to be a blast. I can't wait to get this one on the table. It's going to be fun. So, yeah. Well, back to you, Dan. Some games that you've been working on. I know we announced, actually quite a while ago that we were going to be working on Robo Rally, and you have been hard at work doing all sorts of fun things with this. So what can you spoil? Because we didn't give away a lot of details in the Just Wait stream. Yeah. So we're super excited to work on Robo Rally. Many of us internally are big fans. Long time for me. It's been a classic game. It was one of the first games that got me into board gaming back in the day. It's one of the few that my wife will play with me. So it holds a special place in our hearts. So we're very excited to dig into this. We've been working with the community of some longtime Robo Rally fans, some new players, to do development and testing on some of our boards and elements. So as you may or may not know, there have been several different versions of Robo Rally over the years, and we wanted to make the best one possible. So we've been talking with we've been doing our internal development on what we thought would be the best based on what we've seen among the community, among responses to the other versions. We have talked to players. We've talked to Richard Garfield and said, here's our plan. Here's what we liked about this. Here's what we didn't like about this. Here's what we saw that the fans dug about it. So we shared all that with him, and we got his blessing on the direction that we're going. So we're very, very excited with that. We have all new illustrations. You can see some of those on the screen here by Goncalo Lopez. He's been great to work with. He's been really churning out the illustrations. So these are the 6 main robots from
from Robo Rally. All the classic ones are there. I can personally say that I got to write the art descriptions for a lot of the upgrade cards. We did all new illustrations for the upgrade cards and for the cover and everything, and that was a lot of fun. There's a whole lot of humor in Robo Rally with just the way things work. It's such a chaotic environment in this robot factory, with them spinning and falling in pits and shooting each other with lasers and impaling each other. It's all really fun to be like, okay, what would that look like, and come up with the art description and write it, and then actually see an artist do what you said. It's been really, really fun to see, and I can't wait to share all that new art with the fans.
Well, based on what we already get to see, it's looking amazing. I think this really rings true to the original Robo Rally while still feeling modern and fresh. So I can't wait to see more of those.
Well, thank you. So a few more details that were, I know you and Scott talked about this and talked about it releasing near Gen Con this year, or at Gen Con is our plan. I'll share a few more details with you that might give you some info. So first of all, one thing that we really liked about the most recent edition of Robo Rally was the individual program decks. That each player has their own deck that they can shuffle, that they can work with, that they'll be drawing from. So we are going to be keeping that. One thing we're switching about it is that we are not using those little tiny small cards. We're going back to a more of a full-size card, the standard American cards that were seen in previous versions. So a full card size for the programming decks. But we've found that makes the game go faster because each player can be dealing with their own deck instead of one player shuffling them all out and dealing them all out. And it adds a little bit of known quantities when you know what's in your deck, what's coming up, what's still left in there. We thought that was a good amount of control for the chaos.
Yeah, that sounds really smart. I'm excited to have those back.
Also, another change from the previous version is that we are going back to 12 by 12 grids for the board sizes. I think the previous versions were 10 by 10, so these new ones will be 12 by 12, which means that they will be fully compatible with all of the old versions. If you've got an older version, you can match them up and they'll work well. So we're happy to do that. There's a lot of longtime fans that have these old boards and want to be able to use their old boards still. So we wanted to make sure that they were compatible with that.
That makes sense.
And then also we'll be keeping the batteries and energy from the last edition. We liked that that was something that allowed upgrades quicker and more fast. So those upgrade cards you can buy from a market using the energy that you get from the batteries and the power up card play on the program deck. We liked all that. We do have a whole bunch of new upgrades coming that have never been seen before, along with some classics that we're bringing back. We made sure to have a good mix of old classics that need to be in there and new ones. So we're excited to bring that back as well. And
That's
then
awesome.
I think Scott alluded to this, but I would like to restate that this is not a one and done. We have big plans for the Robo Rally brand. We have not only this core box coming out, but we have a bunch of stuff in the works already. And I can say, I don't think he said this, but I'll say that we will have more content than the base game before the end of 2023. So
wow,
an expansion.
That's very fast.
Yeah, so it'll be shortly after the base game. More content will come. So Robo Rally fans rejoice.
Yeah, that's great. Definitely. I'm in the same boat. I've always loved this game. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, I'm really looking forward to having it be revived again. I think it's such a fantastic game. It really deserves a good treatment. So that I'm really looking forward to all of that. Well, fantastic. And then we also have some things going on at Gen Con. So we are going to be sharing more about that at the March Renegade Con. But for now, I just wanted to tell you we are actually going to be doing a world championship for Robo Rally. So if you're joining us at Gen Con, make sure you get your badges now because sometimes they do run out. And then make sure you sign up for events in May when Gen Con opens up their event registration. And some of these things do sell out very quickly. What's up?
I'd like to give a plug to a gentleman that we talked to late last year, who does this event every year at Gen Con. He does a giant Robo Rally, where it's like actually programmed, like you use a phone to program in your moves, and this robot will then move around. I think this is something that doesn't happen everywhere, but I know it happens at Gen Con. So if you have an opportunity to try that, I would strongly recommend it. I know he sells out. I would love to be there to try it myself, but I at least want to go check it out and watch it.
Yeah, his events have been going on for years and years, and they're really just a staple of Gen Con. And we're really, really excited to go and be a little bit closer to being part of that this year. But he's really the one who runs all of that, and we can't wait to go watch it. It should be a lot of fun. So yes, please sign up for all the Robo Rally events as soon as they open up in May. All right, moving on to our next fantastic Hasbro strategy game. We're getting the opportunity to republish and get back out into the world is Diplomacy. So you've been working on this. What can you reveal about it for us?
Well, Diplomacy, as you know, is a classic, and it's something that we are excited to make sure that comes back out. I will share that we in the office have been playing recently, and Sarah was Turkey, and I was Austria. She got run over pretty darn quick. What happened there, Sarah?
It was painful. Okay. So we're playing online because we're all a remote team, and I'm pretty sure that I didn't get my orders in correctly, and so I made a fatal mistake and got just completely run over. But these things happen. It was a great experience. It was fun to get to play with all of my team members here at Renegade. So who won? It was
we ended in a draw with it basically came down to 2-on-2, and we're like, this is going to take another 2 months for us to get through online taking these turns, so we called it a draw. But we learned a lot. We had a lot of fun, and like I said, it was a good experience. There was some backstabbing in there. There was some treachery, but there was some good bonding too.
Yes, I'm pretty sure that Matt Hyra tricked me. I'm just gonna throw that out there. He took over something.
So anyway, getting back to our Renegade version, on the screen, yes, you can see the new illustration for the box cover, which we're very happy with. This is illustrated by Janos Orban, and we think it looks great. I just saw today a mock-up of the actual box with the logos and the box back and everything, so it's really coming together. We're very excited about putting this out. This is a game that has obviously been around for a long time, has some very tight rules that are very classic, so we don't want to tinker with those rules or change them. There are a few clarifications that we've added. Shout out to Thomas Haver, who I know is in chat, who's been helping me with some of these minor clarifications to the rules to make sure that it's everything that we need it to be, and that works for both home play and competitive play. So that's been great. One big change that we're making as far as the components, the last version had punch units like the armies and the fleets. We are switching to wooden units for the fleets and the armies, which I know fans have been asking for a while. We have these in specifically shaped. They're shaped wood. It's not just like wooden sticks. They are shaped like an artillery and shaped like a ship for the fleets. So those will both add to form and function, I think, for the gameplay for longtime fans. So we're excited to bring that out. So this game is going to print pretty soon. We also added quick start rules. I think this is a great addition that, because many fans have played this, once or played it a long time ago, but they might want to play it again. So adding a quick start rules that don't change the rules, they don't modify the rules. It's just a shortened version that you can read quickly to get up to speed on just the main actions and how it all works. And then if you have any specific questions or looking for examples, all that's in the rule book still. but a quick start guide will really help to make this game more accessible to new players or players who haven't played in a while.
Yeah, I think that's a really good addition. And like you said, the rules didn't need any changes. So also, we are going to be at Gen Con, surprise, and we are going to be hosting events for this. So if you want to find out more about all of the fantastic things we have going on for diplomacy at Gen Con, definitely check back in our Gen Con sort of edition of Renegade Con, which will happen March 1st. So that'll be March 1st, we're going to tell you about all the things you can order. It will open up pre-orders for all of our Gen Con pickups and give you some more details about things like our diplomacy events that we'll be hosting there. So we're really looking forward to reaching some new fans, getting more people into the game, just exposing the world to more diplomacy because it's so great and it definitely has run the test of time and we're excited to be part of it.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
That is everything we have going on for diplomacy. Yeah. All right. Ready to talk about Acquire?
Yeah, let's do it.
Nice. All right. So Acquire, I love this game. I even showed this off a little bit in the Just Wait stream, but have my old version of it here. So what are we doing with this new version you're working on?
Yeah, so we just announced this yesterday. We're excited to broaden our partnership with Hasbro to do a new version of Acquire, another classic strategy game that's been around and stood the test of time. There have been many versions of this, and they run the gamut. They have different themes, they have different components, they have some minor tweaks to some of the rules. So there have been a lot of differences across time, and our goal here is to make the best one. Of course, we want to make one that pleases the fans, that is accessible, and stays true to the original game design. So with that, we're excited to. This was in our press release, but I'll say that we have a plastic board, we have plastic tiles, we have plastic toppers. And it is not a 10 by 10 board like the last version. It is a 9 by 12 board that has not recessed plastic spots, but has raised plastic spots, so you can put them on, similar to the version that you have, Sarah, similar to that version you shared.
I'll show you this picture. I think you can see them in there a little bit.
Yep. So We're excited to do that. We have a new illustration for the cover, which is being illustrated by Eric Hibbler, and it's looking great. We can't show it yet; it's not quite finished, but we're very excited to see it.
It looks great. I can't wait to show that off because it's fantastic.
Yeah, and as far as the theming, this is, like I said in the intro there, this has been done both as hotel chains and as corporations. We are taking it to hotel chains. With one of them being a named Saxon, which will be a reference to obviously game designer Sid Saxon. So we're happy to be able to do that. As far as the rules go, as I mentioned, there's been lots of back and forth among some of these. I mean, the core rules are consistent, but there have been some differences all over the years on various minutia. So we're trying to look at those, looking at the feedback from the community, looking at feedback from on previous versions, and again, trying to make what we think is the best version possible. We're talking to longtime fans, talking to people who are just diehards about this, and want to make the best version possible. So as soon as we have a rule book to share, we'd love to share that with you. But I can promise you it'll be true to the game. It's not a radical new version. It's Acquire through and through.
That's fantastic. Oh, I can't wait to see the new version. It's going to be fun. All right. We have just a few more questions for you. So Legacy of You, what can you tell us about this game?
Yeah, so this is great. This is a new game coming out from Garphill Games, and this is in their Ancient Anthologies series, which you may not know it by that name, but you probably know some of their games. So Hadrian's Wall and Raiders of Scythia are both part of that series, and this is the newest in that line. And this is a game that is based on a real battle from history. This is a solo only game that is a campaign game that is fully resettable and non-linear. So you're going through it and you make choices, and whether you win or lose, different things happen. You'll add cards, you'll remove cards, but it's fully resettable. It is definitely a Euro style game. Like, you are getting wooden bits, you're getting resources, you're converting them, you're upgrading things, you're unlocking things. It feels like a Garphill, Euro style game. But it's also got this immersive storyline to it. It's solo only, which is a unique thing for them. They've done great solo modes, but not a solo only game before. So this is coming to. When is this coming, Sarah?
So this is coming this summer, but you can pre-order it now.
Awesome. And if you pre-order it, there is a promo pack that you can get for it.
Yep. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I just love all of Shem Phillips' games. He's such a great game designer, and I love the artwork. I love the game theme, and solo only. We have a ton of people who love solo only games, so this fits right in with that, which is great.
Yeah.
Cool. And our very last game to chat about this evening is The Search for Lost Species, which is on Kickstarter now. And you have been working on this game very hard for quite some time now. What do you want to tell us about it?
That's true. This game has been a long time coming. So this is the follow-up to the acclaimed Search for Planet X. So that came out a couple years ago and received many awards, and fans seemed to love it. We couldn't keep up with the printing of it. And so this is the follow-up to that by the same game designers, and with some of the similar mechanics. It's still a deduction and logic puzzle using an app, but this one has definitely different theming and some different aspects to it. So the theme is really cool. It is there are lost species out there that are like thought to be possibly extinct, and it is, there are organizations that go out to try to locate them, to try to confirm sightings of them, to try to bring them back from the brink of extinction. And we partnered with an organization named Rewild, who actually does this for these animals and plant species, so they helped us to select the certain species that we have and whatnot. But so that's the theming. As far as how is the gameplay different? Well, it is on a grid hex-based map, where the Planet X was a little bit more abstracted, where you were going around on a planet board, and in this you are scientists in Indonesia and Papua New Guinea on an island, and you're traveling around hexes trying to figure out what is what. So in the game, you'll have a note sheet. There's, I think, 16 spaces on the map, and each one contains exactly one thing. It could be the lost species, it could be a lorry, it could be a toad, it could be a python, but you need to figure out what it is there. And each one of those items will have a specific logic rule that you need to use to deduce, kind of like Sudoku. It's like, if it's not here, then it must be here. And then once you figure that out, that unlocks a whole chain of other deduction that you can do. And it's a very satisfying little engine to make it happen. There are two sides to this board. There's an easier side and a harder side, so more challenge and more replayability. There are town cards. This is a new addition from Planet X, where when you go to do the research action in town, in addition to getting a clue of your choice from the list of pre-selected clues, you get to choose one of these town cards from a market. And these town cards do all sorts of cool things. Some of them are end game points based on finding certain things. Some of them are time reductions, which is the cost of the game, time reductions. Some of them are single, like ongoing events, and some of them allow you to do like research actions right now. Very cool and kind of game changing, but it gives you something extra to do there. There are also multiple lost species in this game. In Search for Planet X, you're always looking for Planet X. In this game, there are 6 different lost species to search for, each represented by a different card, and each of them has a unique logic rule that you will use to find it. So every game, that adds significantly to the replayability and how it all maps out together. So we're excited about that. This does use an app, as I mentioned before. This app was designed by our friends over at Bezier Games. They make some great apps, and they've done a great job of implementing this. They're big fans of Planet X, and jumped at the chance to help us out with the Search for Lost Species app. And it is available now. Sarah's showing it on her phone there. If you want to check it out even before you can play the game, it's there. It's available to check out. It's very polished. It's got cool sounds. It works very well. So we're really excited about that.
Excellent. And so tell us a little bit about the eco-friendly aspects of this game.
Yeah, that was one of the things that the designers really wanted to do, and we thought it was a great idea too, is to make this a very eco-friendly product. So we carried that through in many different ways on the product. So anywhere where there was normally plastic or plastic-based things, we tried to remove that. So plastic bags for your components. We have paper bags that fold up, and you can put all your bits in there, which makes them actually nicer because they're printed and you can see what's on there, what's in there. Plastic wrap for the cards. We've got paper bands. The meeples instead of plastic bits or plastic pieces. The cards are made of a special kind of paper called bagasse paper. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's what the word is bagasse, and that means it's made from bamboo instead of wood, which is a much faster growing and much faster to replenish itself. But the quality is still there. We tested that very well, so that's great. There's a water-based varnish. The factory recycles their gray water, and they use solar power. There's, instead of shrink wrap around the box, there's this little wafer tabs on there. And some people have asked me, said, but doesn't that leave a nasty residue? Well, we tested that. And in my tests, there was no residue. There was no look that you couldn't see the residue on it. You couldn't feel it. It didn't rip the box or anything. So I think we made all of those eco-friendly decisions, and it didn't impact the quality one bit. It made it still a great product.
So if people are worried about the forward compatibility of the app with their future phones, or maybe somebody isn't hosting the app anymore, what did we do to combat that concern?
Yeah, so this was also done with Search for Planet X. There's something called a GM kit. So this is basically a downloadable printing, a free download that has a bunch of game codes that you can manually GM. So it takes one person who would sit out of the game essentially and act as the app. They will, if you are guessing what is where, you'll pass a card to that person. They'll verify it or not. They've got there'll be 100, close to 100 different games, 50 for the easy side and 50 for the hard side. So you'll have lots of replayability if that's something that appeals to you, and or if the app ever goes defunct. Which we don't have any plans for that. We want to support this for a long time, but if that's just doesn't float your boat, we have a solution for you.
That's excellent. And you can actually download the one for Search for Planet X from our website right now, and we'll get the one up for Search for Lost Species as soon as the game is available. So that is coming. Oh, excellent. Very cool. So Search for Planet X is on Kickstarter now. If you order it from Kickstarter, you get it in May, which will be 3 months before the expected retail release in August. If you want to show up at Gen Con, we're going to hopefully have copies there as well. So either way, we would love to see you playing this game and telling people about these lost species and increasing awareness, and also supporting an eco-friendly game and our fantastic designers. So thank you for telling us all about that. And well, we're going to wrap things up now because we have another group waiting in the wings for our next stream. So before we do that, we're going to just take 2 minutes and do a really quick giveaway. So post in chat, all of you hanging out over there, which one of these reveals you're most excited for, and you will have a chance to win a copy of that game. We're going to randomly select one person who posts in our chat, and they are going to win the game that they post about. So just to recap really quick what those reveals are, and this person who wins is going to get a game from our early copies. They'll be flown over before the game releases, before even a lot of our team has copies of these games. You're going to get your copy first. So those copies are Good Omens, an ineffable game. Gods of Metal Ragnarok, an RPG, heavy metal RPG. Robo Rally, the new printing of that. New printing of Diplomacy. New printing of Acquire. Our game in partnership with Garfield Games, Legacy of You, or our game that's on Kickstarter right now, which is The Search for Lost Species. So whichever one of those is just the one you cannot wait to play and you want to get an early copy, good luck. Please post a game you're excited about in chat, and we are going to pick a random winner. So if you're still sticking around for the rest of the evening, we do have a few other little tidbits for you. So don't forget, on March 1st, we're going to be doing our next Renegade Con Virtual Special Edition. This is our Just Wait Special Edition, which means we're just going to be doing our one reveals stream. So check out that. Make sure you come back and find out everything that's happening at Gen Con. And then also our very next stream that we're about to start here in just a few minutes is going to be with our incredible illustrator that we've worked with on a lot of our Power Rangers games. His name is Dan Mora, and he is going to be joined by Anita Osborne, who will be asking him all sorts of great creative questions while he does some live art streaming. So we're really excited to get to watch him. And I want to congratulate our winner, who is going to get a copy of Legacy of You. That is Rootwalla Punk. So please just send an email to our customer service at renegadegames.com email address, and we'll get you hooked up with an early copy of that game. Well, thank you so much, Dan. It was a pleasure hearing about what you've been working on. And one last thing from Dan.
I just wanted to make note, we did talk about Wreckland Run earlier in the stream. I wanted to point out that on tomorrow, there is a Wreckland Run live play happening with Ruel at 5:20 p.m. Pacific time. So it's part of like wrapping up Renegade Con. So if that sounded interesting to you and want to see a live play tomorrow at 5:20 Pacific time.
Excellent. Yes. Thank you for that note. That'll be a lot of fun. Ruel is a blast. He's really fun to watch do live streams. So we're very thankful to have him wrapping up the con for us. So wonderful. Thank you all so much who commented, and it was great to see so many of you that we recognize. Great for all those new faces. And we look forward to seeing you in the rest of our streams that we have going on this weekend. Have a great night. Thank